Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your Innovation Fast Pitch host, Jen McNamara.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, but more importantly, thank you for being here today to support our innovators. Before we get started, I'm going to need to ask you for a little bit of help. First, we need to be so thankful to our Platinum and Gold sponsors, especially DRC and PSI, the ATP Innovation Fast Pitch contributors. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Without you, this event wouldn't even be possible. Better than that round of applause, today, at lunch, on the afternoon breaks, don't miss your chance to visit them in the exhibit hall. Go, meet them, thank them, learn about what they're doing. Remember, those exhibits are going to close today at 4:10 for the week, so don't miss your chance. If you haven't already done so, get the app for the conference. You can hit that QR code. The Guidebook app is going to give you all of the updates about what's going on, if there's any schedule changes, any agenda changes. And remember, after each session, complete the surveys in Guidebook. Let us know what you think. Now I need your attention. I'm going to very briefly explain to you how we run this event. It's not a standard conference session. It's not even a standard general session. It's a fast pitch. We cast a wide-open solicitation net so that we can find entrepreneurs that have innovations that could be disruptive to the testing industry. When we find them, we evaluate them, and we bring them here to spotlight their innovations. We select finalists, so everyone who comes out on this stage today is already a winner because they won to get here. We invite them to participate in this event and introduce them to you, our ATP community. How we do that? It's quick, easy. They get 2 minutes to pitch. Then they have a little 8-minute Q&A with the judge. Rinse, repeat, do that 4 times through all of our finalists. Then you and our judges will live vote while you're in this room, and then we'll award awards to them before we leave the session. But don't let the event end there. Our goal is to support these entrepreneurs to take the next steps, make connections for them into our industry, give them business partnerships, strategic partnerships, welcome them here. Get out there during lunch. There's going to be tables with signs. Each of our finalists will have a table. Please go, ask them your questions, catch up with them, and learn more. Each of our finalists is eligible for 2 awards today: the judge's choice and the audience choice. I think it's pretty clear. You're the audience. I want you all to vote. We'll be using the Slido app to do that. We have a panel of judges who will be making the other selection. Let's go ahead and bring them out now. Everybody ready? Please welcome the Executive Director of the Certification Board for Infection Control and Epidemiology, Jessica Dangles. Next up, please join me in welcoming the CEO at Certiverse, a previous ATP Innovations Fast Pitch finalist, winner, and mentor, Ruben Garcia. And finally, we're going to bring out the AI Innovation Officer from the Office of the CTO at Microsoft, Dr. MJ Jabor. Welcome. Our judges were selected because they bring together unique and complementary perspectives, and their expertise is really going to drive this event when they interact with the finalist on your behalf. Jessica, you have got so much industry knowledge about credentialing, assessment, executive business acumen. Ruben, a serial entrepreneur. a patent holder. I mean, there's not much you haven't done when it comes to innovation. So I think you know what it takes to be innovative. If you weren't here yesterday to meet MJ, I think you've missed out. I think you're all familiar with his background. But he's got 2 decades, really, as a CTO and CIO across corporate settings, worked for city agencies. And we're just so excited to have the 3 of you here. And your collective expertise is really going to keep our participants on their toes. All right, are you ready to meet our first finalist? All right. Please join me in welcoming, from Vocavio, CEO and co-founder, Conor McKenna. How you feeling today, Conor?
I'm feeling great. Delighted to be here on my first ATP, the first of many.
Awesome. Well, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, even in an age of digital transformation, we are still heavily reliant on voice communications, to communicate, coordinate, work in teams, make decisions, sometimes under pressure. Vocavio is a voice AI company that has a new method to assess communication performance of people who are working in roles, in high stress, high workload roles. So think pilots, soldiers, surgeons, and to the audience, wherever else you think it is critical communication. The challenge we're looking to solve is that when you look at simulations or operational environments that are somewhat chaotic, they actually train for non-normal events. So those moments, not quite black swans, predictable, but not frequent. We have a method using voice analysis by looking at the prosody of people in teams to score those communications and generate outputs. We want to support instructors in actually doing better debriefing. The method we'd use, we capture the voice in separated speech files, we pass that to a software engine, we extract the pitch, rhythm, and tone of voice, correlate them, and then output that against a 4-point grade scale and other dynamics. And it can be used as an evidence-based debrief, particularly for experienced operators who may be 20, 30 years in their profession who need evidence of their non-technical skills. Here's an example that's slightly outside of that from a regulated environment between a call agent and somebody, a customer speaking on a call. And we can see different dynamics that the agent did a good job, and there's good trust between them, and there's lots of output we can get from that. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to engaging with the community.
Excellent. I can't wait. Are you ready to face the judges?
I am indeed. Thank you.
All right, come on back. Ruben, do you want to get us started with the first question?
Yes. Tell me a little bit about, so you mentioned that the product works with teams. Is it something that can be used outside of teams, outside of a team environment?
It's focused primarily on collaborative dialogue. So rather than looking at the individual, it's how people actually get in sync with each other when they're solving problems, particularly under high pressure or high workload.
Okay, and then do you have any customers right now that are using the product?
Yes, we signed our first program of note with UK MOD. Okay. So that's been a big win for us, our first direct government customer, and to support their synthetic training program.
All right, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I know you said you've signed your first customer in some of your beta testing for this. Have you had clients that have, I don't want to say renewed their contracts, but have they used it in multiple scenarios?
Sure. No, the great question. So we started our business started really focused on commercial aviation, and in some respects we had to pivot out of that because even though we would have done lots of research with them, the market just was not ready for biometrics on the flight deck or even in a flight simulator. So even though they're just not ready for that just yet. So we do have customers renewing their research licenses, but moving to production phase within the flight training world, the market's just not ready yet. Hence our focus on higher volume synthetic training. So we believe the military market and also the medical training market will be significant.
Thanks, Conor. And are you looking at the actual competency itself in addition to the stress factors?
Yeah, 100%. So the focus, the mission we set out when we were out of the speech communication lab in Trinity College in Dublin was really a method to score what are called CRM skills, or crew resource management. And within that, it's quite a complex skill set, but the primary ones are communication and coordination. And we were able to see that prosodic accommodation, this facet of how humans adapt their speech to each other, is a very good alignment with crew resource management. So the critical competency we output in the grading scales are in communication, but then we're able to derive insights into trust and rapport and other dynamics, even being able to identify who's the leader within a team.
Excellent. One follow-up question. Have you tried non-military, non-medical applications like general team effectiveness?
We've done a small bit of that in the corporate world in our early days. We were really interested in getting back into that, and even how teams who are working remotely could maybe begin to function better if they get more awareness around how they engage on calls, and maybe shorten calls and get to the point, and all those good things we all want.
I had a question. I know you mentioned it could be used for surgeons. Can you tell me a little bit more about what problem that it's trying to solve?
Sure. In many respects, non-technical skills, it's only when there's an incident or an accident, really non-technical skills become into focus. So you've got a surgeon or an anesthesiologist or staff nurse around a surgical team. Their technical knowledge is very high, but it can be often fatigue or other external factors or prior to surgery that has impacted their ability to communicate, their decision making. Maybe they're under time pressure because a list has been extended. So really the software is coming in there to bring a level of objectivity. Remember, our focus really is particularly has the highest value with seasoned operators. So you're giving them something fresh in training to say, hey, really great in this phase of the operation, but in this phase here, your comms kind of degraded a little bit. Maybe you might try this behavior and that works. And so it's really trying to provide that evidence, hard evidence that's sensor-driven and from biometrics rather than an opinion of an evaluator, which sometimes can get lost in translation.
All right, Conor, so the hard question. How can you scale this, right? So I know this is, this is it's a very large market, and if you have to build these simulations for every single market, how can you quickly scale this and really, give a return to your investors?
Yeah, no, great question. So we've tried the sort of direct sales approach and particularly into government sales cycles and working with primes and that takes time. So we're now looking at a separate product offering really that's just cloud-based. So we've containerized the software. We're going to make it available in the first instance in a certain Microsoft marketplace. So that's going to be a good place to be. And really there, we see the customers determining how they can actually extract the most value of it and the use cases that are most relevant to them. So the scaling, I think, is going to come through partnerships and enabling people get access to the software just to experiment with it. And thereafter, we'll hopefully find ourselves on clear requirements from large enterprise customers.
And what's the business model for that? How are customers going to pay for it?
Sure. So licensing or on a per node basis. So in the synthetic training world, they work in smaller nodes. So you need to have enough server power or capability within training centers. So we'd license on that model. We have another customer we license on a per hour model. It really, we're like any startup that's growing, we want to meet the needs of the customer and ensure they're getting value in the first instance. And I think the scaling revenues will look after itself then.
And are you device and AI agnostic in your design? And are there uses of generative AI in the assessment process?
Sure. I'll answer the second piece. There is not generative AI today in what we have. It's considered narrow AI. So it's kind of like a thermometer. So we took in, so you like this, the original algorithm was on Japanese speech. And when I joined the team, I was like, okay, how relevant is that going to be? But we retrained the algorithm with 300 hours of pilot audio to get that gold standard, and then we froze it. And I think in time it will become more dynamic, and we'll use tools like generative AI. In terms of device, I guess it's server-based or cloud-based. We don't really mind if it's a vehicle, a surgical team. It's agnostic in that respect.
So I know you just mentioned you did 300 hours of testing. I'm still a little maybe confused on analyzing speech under stress. Maybe can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. So one of the first data captures we did with military teams, these were all pilots of different levels. When the data came back, I'm the non-speech scientist on the team. I'm the analyst and the product guy. I kind of looked and said, how are the data sets the same between novices and experienced? There's something wrong there. So we introduced a stress event. We saw a completely different dynamic. So we saw the novices go quiet or talk too much, blame each other without verbalizing it, but you actually can do that in a nuanced way. So we got some evidence around that. And then we saw the experienced team. They were agnostic to who they were working with, and they were just following their SOPs, their standard operating procedures, working through their lists. What's our problem? How am I going to solve it? And that was representative. So their comms recovered faster versus the novice team just actually degraded, and really they're lost at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was absolutely excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Have you go ahead back to the waiting room. Let's invite out our next innovator. From risr, Director of North American Operations, John Dupre. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Ready to go?
Absolutely.
I think the audience is ready for you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about agentic AI for clinical examinations. So as you can imagine if you're a medical student, you're preparing to care for real patients. To become confident and skilled in that area, you need to practice communication, decision-making, diagnostics. Typically, it means having scheduled sessions with standardized patients, but it can be expensive, it can be complicated, it can be difficult to schedule. Today, medical institutions spend a considerable amount of resource dedicated to conducting these clinical examinations. They require extensive coordination involving multiple human roles like standardized patients, examiners, and it results in high costs, logistical challenges, and inconsistent outcomes when things don't go well. Our AI-driven system has completely changed this. Students engage with realistic verbal dialogue with virtual patients anytime, anywhere, and this essentially eliminates the scheduling hassles and reduces test anxiety. They can also receive immediate feedback and talk that feedback through with an AI clinical coach. So OSCEs aren't as accessible as they could be, and a lot of it is due to these logistical and financial barriers. Our innovation solves these problems by providing digital role players that realistically simulate that patient encounter, and it creates a scalable, cost-effective way for learners to practice more regularly. The technology allows students to improve steadily in that supportive virtual environment. And beyond medical education, the technology can be adapted for other fields like language testing, law, where students could practice courtroom interactions or digital interactions with people in the court, the judge, opposing counsel, for example. So by reducing the cost and the complexity, we're making high quality, accessible practice exams for institutions and learners everywhere, and we're excited to continue exploring new possibilities in education and training across all fields. Thank you very much.
Absolutely excellent. Are you ready to face the judges?
Absolutely. Yep.
Come on back with me.
All right.
All right. Jessica, do you want to take the first question?
Sure. Great presentation, but do you have any testimonials or case studies that have shown success of this product?
So we're actually working with a number of organizations right now to pilot these things. They're very close to coming to market, both in medical as well as language testing. So really the innovation is reducing the barriers that these organizations face, the costs that they face to try to prepare for delivering these types of examinations or delivering the training and showing the progression of the learners as they go. But yeah, so we do have a number of customers that are very interested in these innovations, and it fits into our other products that we already offer, like our item banking software. So it's extensible from there, but it's also extensible in the way that we could have new markets that we can engage with in terms of practice exams that we've never been able to do before because it requires all of those logistical barriers.
John, can you talk a little bit about can you quantify the cost and the time as compared to like a traditional model?
Yeah. So the cost savings are huge. A lot of the time, training can take a significant amount of time. These people have to be standardized. They need to be able to portray a role in the way that it would be in the real world so that you can evaluate it effectively. And a lot of that time and effort is very costly. So basically, being able to eliminate that is very good. The reality is that these cases can be built in the same way that they're currently built. The way that we've built the platform is to essentially consume things like role player notes that an actor would be given, and it simply replaces the actor. So the costs would not be significantly more than the development process that currently exists, and the savings would be on the side of the delivery, because you would not need to find these role players. It could be examiners that we replace. If you have a scoring rubric that you've already created, those things could be immediately used in the system to interact with the candidate and then produce a score and feedback at the end of the process.
Thank you.
And John, is this more of a learning tutoring situation, or is it going to be focused in on the assessment piece?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question, because I think at where we are right now, obviously we're doing an innovation fast pitch, so putting it into a really high stakes situation tomorrow would not be recommended. What we would want to do is to continue looking at the way this platform evolves. The technology is constantly evolving. Initially, I think that the use case that you described is probably the most accurate one, which is for learning. Allowing people, 2 o'clock in the morning, you had a lecture the day before and you wanted to try something or ask a patient a different way, a question in a different way, you could do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So for learning progression, it's definitely something that would be very valuable in the short term, and then in the long term, looking at making high-stakes exams easier to deliver. So instead of having to come back once a year or twice a year, if you could deliver a valid high-stakes exam every month or even every week because you have access to this type of technology, I think it's really game-changing.
And just a follow-up question, are you using some sort of competency-based assessment in that learning process where you're reporting back to the student feedback?
The really exciting part is that our platform allows the institutions to put in whatever framework they want, whatever scoring rubrics they want. They are the subject matter experts. So however they determine, they will be assessing their candidates and the feedback that they want to give their candidates, because that's how they believe that the learners should be taught. They have that flexibility. Essentially, the solution just replaces the logistical barriers that are present, but doesn't change the way that the education can be delivered or the quality of that education in any way.
And how are you monetizing the technology? Are you going to include it in your product, or is this going to be an upcharge? And then also, are the clients fully responsible for creating all the content?
Yeah. So currently our customers are responsible for creating all the content, so there wouldn't be any change there. With regards to kind of going to market with something like this, I think there's two different streams that make sense to us. One being current existing customers that are delivering exams would be able to employ this type of technology where they're currently having human role players or human examiners fill that. There is a new market, which is exactly what was just discussed in the other question, which is the learning space, and allowing for people to prepare for examinations in a way that they've never been able to prepare for examinations before, because getting a lot of people together and doing a dry run or a practice test, it's logistically complex. This way, we could have an entirely different model just dedicated to learners themselves, where they could actually interact with the product instead of the organizations that they're being educated by. Supplying it for them.
Okay, so you think you would charge on the transaction side as the users are using the platform?
Yeah, I think it would most likely be a licensing fee, either based on time, the amount of time they wanted to interact with the platform, or number of cases that they were going to be doing within that platform. For the learners themselves, for the institution, we'd likely put that directly into the licensing costs that already exist for the platform.
Can you tell me about any limitations of this program? And are there any medical specialties that you've found a lot of resistance with, or you're just finding it doesn't work with this kind of technology?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that one of the things that in medical education, obviously, you want to make sure that what you're assessing is reliable and valid. So there will be organizations that will want to run pilots that may want to try one station here with a virtual standardized patient. They may want to try a virtual examiner as a co-examiner to augment the scoring of a station at the outset. So there's definitely many different ways that we can be flexible in approaching the validity and the reliability of rolling a solution like this out. I don't think that there's been any resistance to it, because it's something that everybody can see makes a little bit of sense in terms of making things accessible to people, really opening things up, democratizing the ability to learn in a different way that's never been possible before, because it's required another person at the other end of the delivery method.
As you're going through the tutoring process with a student, is it adaptive to their skills, like in terms of increasing complexity?
So it very well could be. That would just depend on the organization and the content that they have in the bank. But because we are able to administer the case and provide immediate feedback, they can talk through that feedback with the AI clinical coach, for example, and understand where they could improve their skills. The next case that they could be presented with might be one that's been calibrated to be more difficult, and you could see that progression. And if they have struggled or they have performed more poorly on a case, then maybe delivering a case that's of the same difficulty or something maybe even a little easier to better hone in on where their skills really are would be the right thing to do. So it could be completely adaptive in that sense.
And it's configurable that way today, or that's aspirational?
So it's somewhat aspirational, but the platform is entirely configurable just based on the roles that you would want to plug in. So the item bank itself, the ability to generate those items, to call up those items from an item bank is something that exists today.
Thank you, John. That was excellent. All right, we're halfway there. Please warmly welcome our next finalist from Surpass, Chief Commercial Officer, Jim Crawford. How you feeling? You ready for the...
Just about, yeah. Thank you very much.
I think they're ready for you.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm here to talk about an innovation that addresses a challenge that I think everyone in this room will already be very familiar with, and that is, how do we give all learners access to the same learning opportunities? Ladies and gentlemen, to help solve this, I'd like to introduce you to our new AI-based assessment for learning tool, Surpass Tutor. Today, educators have got an impossible task. They have to somehow help each child fulfill their full potential when they only get to spend a few hours with that child each week, and the child is part of a big and often very diverse cohort. Now, we know that personalized learning is key to helping to achieve this goal. But we also know that personal tuition is extremely costly and time and resource intensive. Surpass Tutor solves this by giving every learner access to an endlessly patient personal tutor who not only tells them their score, but tells them, for example, exactly where they've gone wrong on a multi-stage maths problem, or how they can start an essay for the first time, or once they've written that essay, how they can improve it structurally, grammatically, or by expanding on certain concepts. But we've not just stopped at K-12 subjects either. Now, working with our healthcare and accountancy partners, we're able to provide the same personalized learning support to professional adult learners who are responding to clinical case studies or performance-based accountancy tasks, helping these certification boards expand their learning programs and reach new learners. But what about the all-important feedback, and what makes Surpass Tutor so unique? Well, the simple answer to that is that we only use your content, your valid and reliable items with well-constructed scoring rubrics, and crucially, lots of pre-scored responses that allow us to fine-tune our marking and provide evidence before we roll it out to candidates that we have extremely high-quality feedback. We're really excited about the impact of this solution, and we hope you agree. Thank you.
Excellent. Are you ready to face the judges?
Absolutely, yeah.
Come on back. All right. MJ, would you like to start us off this time?
Sure. So, thank you, Jen. When we're looking at this versus like Konamigo and other types of products on the market, I heard you indicate that the local item bank per program was something that was unique. Are there other areas that differentiate you?
There are absolutely other areas, yes. I mean, without getting into a features and benefits kind of discussion, this is a very new market, but I wouldn't claim that using personalized learning and AI to support that is something that is unique. But, I mean, I would expect, in fact, that just like there are maybe a dozen assessment providers here with end-to-end assessment platforms, in a few years, they'll probably all have personalized learning solutions or bolt-ons as well. So we're right at the start of this journey, and so the competitors, they're not mature products yet. There's lots of maneuverability in the marketplace. There is a lot that is unique about Surpass Tutor and the way it works. And we're confident that although they may not stay unique, our continued investment in the product will allow us to differentiate, neutralize competition, and find where the product will be successful, the right market positioning for it.
Great, and one follow-up question. Do you have a specific go-to-market plan that will give you that escape velocity?
So, I mean, this is a kind of general point about how we approach all innovations. So we rely on the Surpass community, which is our customer base, to really inform us about what the product needs to do, rather than us having a fixed sort of destination point where we think it has to go. Now, we have an idea, and we're sort of confident that we know where we can extract the most value from the product. But ultimately, we get it in front of our clients. We get them telling us what their candidates are asking for, or their partners, and that guides our development roadmap. So our go-to-market plan right now is conducting evaluative trials with our customer base and allowing them to steer the product in the way that will add the most value to their customers and their candidates.
So my question, I know you talked a lot about democratizing education, working in the K-12 space. Is this something that would be realistically accessible to, programs in rural or underserved areas?
In rural?
Rural or underserved areas. Would they be able to afford a platform like this?
Oh, affordability, right. So we're very flexible as an organization on the pricing point, just as a general concept. We're owned by private family ownership. I used to be a head of physics at a local school. So the company isn't all about extracting the maximum profits. We try to extract profits that allow us to continuously invest and stay ahead of the curve and be a leader in a market. But we're not out to capitalize on or compromise on the mission of supplying this and making sure it has the maximum benefit in society. So I think having a sort of position where there are customers who can afford to pay a certain price point and it's comfortable for them using a revenue sharing model, we adopt that. For organizations or perhaps government bodies more commonly who just want to get it into the hands of the whole population, we reduce our price points considerably to ensure we can do that.
And what is kind of the learning curve for teachers or providers that might want to use something like this? Maybe they're not as computer savvy, is this something that's easy for them to learn?
This is so simple, so simple. And that was core to what we're trying to do here. Because we know, we've worked in schools for a long time. We know that as soon as you introduce any complexity, I said schools, any educational institution, if you create a barrier through having to learn a new system, a new process, a new approach, you're straight away making it much harder to get to market. So right now, it fits with a lot of the existing learning platforms that the educational institutions use. They can either use LTI integration to just drop it in, or it can just be done through a really simple email that hooks into their candidate management system. So the idea is it just slots into what they've already got in place. The distribution model for the practice content or the assessment for learning content is just via whatever learning tools they already have available.
Jim, so I have a question around the markets, right? So I think that like on the academic side of the market, it's a very competitive market, as MJ mentioned, Khan Academy. And then on the certification side, there's a lot of, I think that platform or the training is very fragmented. It's not centralized. If you were to pick, right, would you rather focus on the K-12 market or on the certification side? And where do you see the opportunities there?
That's a great question. Okay, so let me fess up and say when we started this journey about a year ago, we thought this was K-12. This is what this product is for, and this is where we're going to get the most interest. So we have an annual conference where we present to all of our customers, and we sort of did the big reveal of this last October. And we were shocked that after we'd done the big reveal, we had a queue of professional certification boards saying, well, I love the maths and English literature content. Where's our content? What can we do? And this is, with any innovation, you've got to be very agile and very reactive to what you're hearing from your target customers. We changed at that point to focus much more on the professional sector. And actually, the bulk of what we've been doing over the last 6 months has been more towards accountancy boards and healthcare boards, running sort of quite extensive trials with the different types of content that they can provide, which is a markup in complexity and sophistication compared to what we see at K through 12. So it wasn't something we assumed would work, but we're very happy that it does. That doesn't mean we're neglecting K through 12, by the way. I think some people in the audience know Surpass as a professional certification provider We do most of the schools testing in the UK for a lot of the school leaving boards in the UK. So we're in lots of schools and colleges and educational institutions.
So which market would you rather do work for? I mean, I know that academic market's very different from certification. I mean, if you had to like start from scratch, build a product and focus on a specific market, would you try to get into both markets, or?
I don't see why it can't work for both. I genuinely don't see why. Essentially, I mean, personalized learning in itself, individualized instruction or differentiated instruction, whatever terminology you want to use, it's widely beneficial to any learner going, with any subject where they don't have access to one-on-one tuition. There's no reason why. It's just different subject matter. The underlying processes around delivering educational content isn't sufficiently different. There are some differences, but it's not different enough for you to say, we're going to focus over here rather than here.
Thank you.
So to use a tool like this, the teachers and administrative staff have to adjust their roles to some degree, and the students probably need some AI literacy and something to prevent also their de-skilling in the process.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas around how I know you said it's easy to use, but what's your onboarding plan for those populations?
Yeah, it's another very good question. It's pretty tricky. I'm sure you're very familiar with this, maybe perhaps all the judges. It's quite difficult when you have to sell a product, but before you sell the product, you have to educate them on a concept that they're not familiar with. And we're talking about AI literacy here, and there are varying appetites and concerns and risks around AI. So what we've tried to do is, as part of the onboarding process, or perhaps before we get to the onboarding, the sales process, is provide a lot of education around it, explain the benefits and how it can be used in a way that supports the educational practice rather than tries to replace. And that's why we're seeing a lot of success. Actually, the biggest questions, sorry, are you kicking me off? Is that, okay, I'll end it there. Maybe I'll continue later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, are you ready to welcome our final entrepreneur to the stage? From Key Tech Labs, researcher Rohana Swihart.
I know. I mean, Unstoppable and Champions. It's a good theme song.
Take it away.
Thank you. Good morning. Key Tech Labs is a nonprofit, grassroots, Black-founded organization in the Seattle, Washington area who has come up with a solution to the workforce development dilemma. We are building the pipeline for future workforce from underrepresented and underserved populations. The problem, human potential. How many people don't have access to virtual reality training, communication skill training, mentors? We've solved that. The silver tsunami, along with STEM jobs going unfilled, the silver tsunami is 10,000 people a day leaving the workforce. We have the solution. Through our open source curriculum combined with virtual reality and AI feedback, and also project-based learning with culturally diverse mentors, we are building the pipeline and bringing hope, competency, and high-paying, in-demand jobs to youth who are both underserved and our overburdened communities. And in the meantime, we are building environmental solutions through our work in sustainability and green careers. And maybe additionally, most important, we are paying it forward. Each of us on the leadership team believe in giving it back. We've all been mentored, and now we mentor others. We have already raised $250,000 over the last 3 years. It is a viable program, and we are looking for additional funding and additional partners so that we can continue to build the workforce development programs. We are intentionally working outside of the public schools. I was a special education teacher for 10 years and could not get virtual reality training into my special ed classroom in either a low-income district or an affluent district. For example, the solution to this is my 16-year-old scholar, African-American female, who was a survivor of human trafficking. When we introduced her to this program, she realized that she could not only make up her skills, but continued to her goal to be an attorney. That's life-changing. That changes her legacy and the world ahead. This is our all-star leadership team, STEM experts, educators, workforce development leaders. You'll note that they are from various backgrounds and various cultures. Thank you. Please consider coming with us to build champions from underserved communities and building the green and workforce development pipeline. Thank you.
All right. You ready to face the judges?
Yes.
All right. Come on back with me. Ruben, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand what you're doing. I'd love to learn how you're doing it. So can you talk a little bit about like the virtual reality training piece of it and how you're getting content and and how you leverage the technology?
Yes, absolutely. So we use both commercially available and proprietary virtual reality modules, both for hard skills and soft skills. Those come with micro-credentials. We use a virtual reality program that is already accredited through the Bureau of Labor. So therefore, our scholars have skills ready to go into state-approved apprenticeships and or on-the-job training with our partners. So we use that asynchronously in the early stages. The program is 3 phases. The first phase is asynchronous learning of the basics of the topic, whether they're a solar technician or windmill technician. We use asynchronous learning from LinkedIn because it's free with their library cards, and they also get those micro-credentials. Then we move them to virtual reality modules, both in hard skills and soft skills. They get those micro-credentials as well. They put them on a digital portfolio. And then finally, we put them in the field to actually build out projects in community gardens, urban farming, other land acquisitions. So then they have both the knowledge and the application. And then when they complete the program, they get a stipend and then interview with our partners, or we help them get onto a state-approved apprenticeship.
Okay, thank you.
Can you help me understand, is this something that drives a revenue stream? How is this company making money, or is it strictly from donations and volunteers?
So we currently have grant funding. There are other community leaders and sponsors also contributing to that. And we are looking to scale and have more opportunities. We are also working with indigenous populations across the nation to help them, and so there will be additional funding. And ultimately, we'd love to find a partner to make this go forward, because as we've presented this at international and national conferences in sustainability, ed tech, special education, and higher education, no one else is doing this model. We are ahead of the curve, and would love to be mentored. That would be my ask, so that we can scale this, have a greater revenue, and be able to bring this to more underserved communities to really help out hope and build the pipeline, because there's a significant deficit in people that are prepared to go into those fields.
So is it the mentors that are developing the learning content for your students or your participants?
Most of the early content has been co-created by Adam and myself. He also is STEM and XR, extended reality background. And then we do have mentors and other subject matter experts as we build the curriculum and add new programs to it, like urban controlled agriculture, windmill, EV maintenance. We'll bring in other mentors to make sure that they are adequate for the jobs, and then based on educational frameworks and backgrounds, so that the viability remains there.
For the socioeconomically vulnerable populations you're working with, typically they have substantially more difficult time dealing with literacy and numeracy. Do you have something that is filling the gap in order to make a program like this accessible to them?
Yes, great question. So in my background as a special education teacher, I work primarily with students with autism and those with communication challenges, typically labeled as emotional behavior disturbed, which often are gifted, and we don't really teach the way they need to learn. So we do use educational frameworks. There are commercially available VR modules that are very effective in helping practice communication. And because the research shows that people and youth in general, especially from vulnerable populations, are more authentic in responding to an avatar than a human, we find that it's more effective to have them work through those modules with the avatar and then come back and have feedback and meeting with a mentor, whether it's myself or others. Representation matters, so it may be more appropriate for a different leadership member to work with them. And then be able to roll that out and show them how that applies in their work within their cohort and the community at large. And because of the advances in technology, whether that's spatial anchoring, AI feedback, those are really relevant over a number of rubrics that often are more comprehensive than what a one-on-one conversation would be.
And just a follow-up question, typically some of those kids that have those higher needs will have an IEP or have gone through some sort of psychoed or neuropsych eval. Are you doing things to help make those tools more accessible to those populations or facilitating their education in some way through them?
It's been our experience and my experience in general that it has been very hard to work inside the school system, both as a teacher and an after-school advocate. With my background in special education and STEM, I've worked at Hanford, Umatilla, other large Northwest STEM projects. We have intentionally built in accessibility features and on a case-by-case basis have gone even outside of that realm to try and make as much accessibility as possible for the scholar, because personally that's my life mission. In 2 decades, we've only changed the percentage of people that identify as disabilities in the workforce by 5%, and it's still less than 10%. So with the advancements in technology, I would say especially AI and spatial anchoring, whether you can be fully engaged in the environment, I believe that has opened up accessibility and will continue to provide more opportunities for those scholars to be contributing members of our communities.
And last question for you, and then I'll let my panel jump in. In terms of the data, you said that some of the work that you're doing is proprietary as it relates to XR and that group. Do you have an economic model that will support the continued development of the plan and program?
We have partnered, that's a great question, thank you. We have partnered with green energy consulting firms and other civic organizations, Seattle City Light, Port of Seattle, other corporations as well, STEM Tech, some of our leaders are on various STEM businesses. But again, hoping to be able to bring this to greater awareness, first of all, and then scalability, and have someone stand beside us to build that out.
I have one final question. So Certiverse today closed on a $11 million Series A round. If I could write a check to you for $11 million today, what would you do with it?
We would sit down with our leadership team and your leadership team, and we would build this out, and we would serve every underserved community in the nation through this program, because so much of it is online, and then set up pods, neighborhood pods. As a teacher, I sat in a workshop yesterday with the workforce development group, and so many teachers don't know how to find you. I know how to find you because I'm on LinkedIn and I had a corporate background, but so many teachers are like, how do we find industry partners? How do we find community partners? So together we would put that money to exceptional use and serve a lot of people overnight. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up and stay with me, Rohana. I'd like to welcome out our other finalists to rejoin us on the stage. All right, audience, let's just give them all another round of applause. All I can say is, wow, you have a tough job ahead of you. So are you ready to vote? Is everybody ready to do their part? We're going to use Slido. You've got a QR code here. Go ahead and access it. It should take you straight to the survey, and just so you know, you can only vote once, so if you're not sure if your vote went through, you can go ahead and send it again. It's not going to add up votes. Or if you need to change it because you clicked the wrong thing, feel free. It'll only take the last vote you make. So on behalf of the finalists standing here with me, I've done this. A 2-minute pitch is the hardest thing to learn how to do. And for people both inside and coming from outside of our community, they couldn't have gotten here without the help of some key people. So each of our finalists got to work with 2 types of mentors. An industry mentor, someone that brings a breadth of knowledge about this community, represents you, and help them prepare to face you. So I'd like to thank Chad and Danya, Ibi and Ada as the industry mentors. Thank you. And our producer, Sean. You really helped them shine. All right, now it's my turn to ask you all a few questions. The first one is I really want other people in the audience who might be thinking about this type of event, participating in the future, if you could tell them one thing about your experience here and what you found valuable, what would it be? Conor, you want to start?
Yeah, I think the willingness to share. Any people I met at booths or even interactions, and there was a few drinks parties last night, which are good fun. So the capacity to share, I think that knowledge transfer, that's really helpful. And also, people giving their views on your technology, that's also helpful. Some obscure use cases we found out last night over cocktails, but all told, good fun.
Yeah, I think for me it was the opportunity to kind of crystallize what it is that we're trying to do with these innovative products and to arrive at something that has a defined goal and can contribute some value to the customers that we're seeking to serve. Trying to fit it into 2 minutes really makes you question what it is you're trying to convey in terms of messaging. So having that pressure definitely makes you think through how you're building things, how you're communicating about them, but also kind of thinking through the use cases where you could go in the future. So I think those are the things that I really took away from this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to just repeat, but I agree with that. Probably the biggest thing was just trying to distill your message and everything you know about the product that you've invested so much time and passion in over a long time into 2 minutes is a real challenge. But I also think just on a personal note, forgetting the products and stuff, the experience of being up here and meeting other like-minded people and the judges, it's just a great experience. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with what they've said. I think for me personally, being a researcher, I'm used to 45-minute or 2-hour, really in-depth presentations, and I had to be really high level, which is everything against a PhD work. So putting the mindset that this is a introductory, like a speed date, and just giving you awareness of the program and networking in the various sessions, mentors, judges. It's just been a complete blessing, and this is my first time at ATP, so I just also want to say thank you. It's been an amazing experience, and I'm looking forward to meeting more of you. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to give each of you 15 seconds. I've taught you to talk succinctly. If there's one message you wish you had conveyed, and you haven't had a chance to do it, now's your chance. Anyone want to take it?
Sure. I think we were hearing at the conference about AI, and there's a lot to understand in that, but it's about experimentation. So secure some budget to go try things. And through the experimentation, you get data back, you get buy-in, and the organization will learn.
I guess I would say collaboration and iteration. I think talking to the customers that you currently work with to understand what they're trying to solve, the problems that they have, and refining solutions iteratively, getting things to them quickly. Even if it's an incomplete solution at the outset, it adds value to their workflows, and it allows you to build the product and really scope out where you may end up in the future.
Yeah, sorry, not to be unique again. I couldn't agree more. I think it's really about experimentation, collaboration. You don't know what you don't know. So it's easy to form judgments on things where they can be a bit scary and risky. If you just start using something and talking to people, get it into the hands of the learners in some cases, or your customers and others, and just get feedback. And then you'll learn iteratively whether it's correct or whether it needs to change, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the world is an interesting place, right? And it's going to take all of us with our unique talents, backgrounds, to bring it together. And I think a bigger part of even collaboration for me is sitting down and saying, how can we do this at a community level, and then scale it up? And thank you for being part of that community.
All right, thank you so much. Up on the screen, you see the contact information for each of our finalists. Go ahead and take a photo. Keep those cameras out so you can snap some photos and go out on social and talk about some of what you've seen today. I also hope you'll all join us in the lunchroom and visit the finalists so you can follow up with them after this. Judges, you were excellent. You really helped to make this one of the best fast pitches yet. And I appreciate your time, and without you, this event just couldn't happen, so thank you so much. Okay. I think our results are ready. Thank you. First up, for our Judges Success Award, risr John Dupre. Next up, for our Audience Choice Award, from Surpass, Jim Crawford. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving your attention to our innovators. I truly hope you'll continue the conversation and meet us out in the lunch area.